You're back with the panel on Q&A, Dr Bryce Edwards, Deborah Coddington and Kelvin Davis. Is he right? Are we dreaming to think we can have cigarettes gone by 2025?
No, we won't have cigarettes gone by 2025. No. And it worries me that we're trying to, because it interferes with people's right to smoke.
What about people's right to be healthy and not have that option there? I'd love to ride around in my car at 200 kilometres an hour. I'd look great, it'd be huge fun, I'd get everywhere really quickly, but it's a bad idea, and I'm not allowed to.
That's a different issue.
Why? Because
it's proven that you could smash into someone and kill them. But if you're smoking and you're damaging your own health, and listen, I don't like smoking, but the other thing that worries me about this, getting rid of smoking, is that the people who, let's say we do get rid of smoking, the people who are targeting smokers have already trained their guns on sugar, and you've got a program on tonight, and I've seen the promos for it. People saying sugar is evil, it should be banned. And we've seen in the States they want to put hamburgers in plain wrappers. And you talked about, kids starting smoking, and he said that it wouldn't make any difference if it's in plain wrappers. Look at all the kids, the teenagers that smoke marijuana, cannabis. Hanu Harawira goes on about targeting tobacco. We don't hear a peep from him about all the kids up in the far north that are smoking cannabis and the harm that does. And I suspect, I might be wrong, but I suspect that this is because there's not some evil corporate for him to target.
Bryce, that's your patch of the world. Has Deborah got a good point?
Kelvin.
Kelvin, sorry.
Look, if Chris came here looking for love, sympathy and understanding from me, well, he came looking for the wrong person. I've got no empathy, no concerns about doing what we can to get rid of tobacco from New Zealand by 2025 and running guys like him out of town. It kills our people, Māori I'm talking about, at a great rate of knots. I think that even though it's a legal product, it doesn't mean to say, the law doesn't say we need to make it easy for these companies to prosper and thrive. I think we shouldn't go down the garden path of worrying about sugar, hamburgers and all that sort of stuff. Let's focus on tobacco and let's deal with this issue and get rid of them, and then we can focus on whatever else we want to. But this is a product that, if used as directed, is going to kill you, and it shouldn't be allowed in New Zealand.
Bryce, as we all know, though, the tax take off cigarettes is huge. It's hundreds of millions of dollars a year. That's going to go as well.
Oh, absolutely. And smokers do pay their way. We've seen studies to show that they're paying more than their health costs are. And sometimes I feel a bit sorry for smokers. No one stands up for them. And that's why it was quite good having Christopher Bishop on today, because we didn't seem to have horns or anything. It was good to actually see a smoking representative putting forward. And he was kind of bending over backwards, being quite reasonable in some respects. But where are the politicians on this, standing up for the 20% of smokers? Sometimes I feel a bit sorry for them and think, well, perhaps I should take up smoking because show some solidarity, because Deborah's raised some good points about it being mostly a victimless crime. And the challenge for someone like Kelvin and the government wanting to ban it is certainly the question about other products, what comes next, gambling, beer.
But how can you say it's a victimless crime though, when all the families, all the bereaved people, I mean, they're victims of somebody else's
I think you can make
behaviour.
You can make the same arguments about alcohol, gambling,
but tobacco is not a victimless
well, what about
product?
obesity?
Obesity related. You're going down that same path
that relates to sugar.
And
Tariana Turia has said, look, let's toot at everybody who's smoking in a car. Now, she had a stomach stapling operation, which I don't disagree with, because to do with her health and being overweight. Now, how would she feel if we went round tooting at everybody who was overweight? That is a very mean and shaming, horrible thing to do. But obesity costs the health system far more than people who smoke, because they contribute through their taxes.
But and I think we should deal with obesity, but not now. We're trying to target Philip Morris and those other guys.
Same issue.
They're the ones killing. If we say, putting aside your right to have a smoke and do whatever, let's say we ban smoking and no one in New Zealand smokes, OK? Let's just say that hypothetically. Where's the bad bit of that? Putting aside the rights.
At the moment, you're allowed to grow 15 kgs of tobacco and motueka for your own use, and that's already on the black market. They call it chop chop. It's roll your own. And he's absolutely right. It'll go into the hands of the gangs, just like marijuana does now, just like cannabis does, and it will be, you know, this is the law of unintended consequences. I think before we charge down this road, we should think very carefully about whether we will be creating more crime.
At this stage, we're not talking about making it a criminal offence to smoke.
That's right.
There's a difference there. It's not like
but it'll be a criminal
marijuana or
Class C drug.
It'd be a criminal offence to sell it, but it's not a criminal offence to smoke it. If you want to grow it yourself and smoke it yourself, it's this stage anyway.
Look, there'll be no sweeteners, no additives, no nicotine in the tobacco, in homegrown tobacco. You may as well smoke a tea bag for all the joy it'll give you.
What about the prisons? What do we make of that? Because, as we said, it's a very isolated example, and it's not all of New Zealand, but it's worked okay.
Yeah, and you make a very good point about that, and I think the tobacco companies do have a challenge in answering that, and Christopher Bishop, I don't think, was able to answer that very well, because it shows that getting rid of smoking does have a good effect. So we should have a debate about it, absolutely, but the challenge is, and it might sound ridiculous banning packaging for beer and so forth, but it will come if we go down the slippery slope, and there's no discernible logical principle difference between banning plain packaging for tobacco or beer. So that's the challenge for
I'm not saying that it's not better. I'm not saying that it's better to smoke than not to smoke, but I'm just saying that if people want to ruin their own bodies against all the education that says that they shouldn't, well, then I don't think that, you know, banning
and smoking have that libertarian perspective put forward, I think.
What about the time frame? Because it's still a long way off, and we appear to be going, irrespective of whether you agree with it or not, is the government going too softly on actually doing this? I mean, why 2025? It's still a long way off. Not to take people 13 years to give up cigarettes.
Look, what's his name? Chris said it's a multi-causal. There's multi-causal reasons why people start. We need to have a multi-causal or multi-pronged approach to actually eliminating smoking, so that people just don't want to. You know, they hook people young and they hook them for life. All it takes, they don't need to worry about plain packaging and fonts on cigarette packets. All they need to do is get a 14-year-old to smoke about half a dozen cigarettes and they're hooked for life.
Kelvin's right about the multi-causal thing and approach, multi-prong approach, but at the moment the government's very much about the stick rather than the carrot. I mean, we should have all the available smoke-free quitting programs, but there seems to be a strong emphasis on putting up the price, whacking smokers.
Very hard to smoke a carrot, though. Coming up is the political will there for gay marriage, and what about adoption? Next, Labour MP Lewis Wall and Conservative Party leader Colin Cook.